Head over to stretfordpaddock.bigcartel.com and check out the Paddock merch. And for a short time, you can get 20% off orders with 2 items or more using the code Paddock20. Go get on it. Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to Stretford Paddock. I am Adam McKola, and today I am joined by Joe Smith, and of course, Alex Baggers is in the house as well. And we're here to talk West Ham United against Manchester United. United are going down to London to take on the bubble-blowing
boys,
Cockneys, BBCs. And we're going down there to hopefully bring back 3 big points because we need it. And if we get those 3 points, it could see us make a decent climb up the table. Joe, Alex, before we get stuck into the proper stuff, we're talking, 11s and the opposition and predicted scores. How are you generally feeling about this game? Go on, Joe.
I'm feeling like it's all. This season's been a bag of shit, hasn't it? Right, for different reasons. Not because every result's been bad, but because you feel like you can't settle. You feel like you can't sit and enjoy a trophy or a tournament or anything because we started off great in the Champions League. That was our thing. We enjoyed that because we were crap in the Premier League. And then all of a sudden, we're actually quite good in the Premier League. We're a couple of wins away from being near the top of the league. If we win our game in hand, we're 2 points behind Liverpool. And then we lost to PSG in a game we should have won. And all of a sudden, it feels like, actually, if anything, it's the Champions League we're about to get knocked out of. And their only chance of, doing well this season is a good push, a good run in the Premier League. So it's hard to know where you sat with United at the moment. We had that thing where we were terrible at home and we were great away, and then we've not been so bad at home recently, and I don't know what to think anymore. All I know for sure is that we need to beat West Ham, and we don't tend to win away at West Ham in recent years. So I think it's going to be really difficult. There's obviously the Moyes factor as well, but in terms of the season so far, it's a very confusing, tricky, like you feel like you're on sort of wobbly ground all the time. Do you know you got that sort of uneasy feeling in your stomach where you're like, something's moving him. I'm on a boat.
Well, the
or
Southampton game
it's proper wobbly.
Epitomised,
didn't it? Yeah, exactly. You go from thinking we're quite good here. First 15 minutes we were decent. Then they sort of picked it back up again. They get the 2 goals. You think, well, there's no chance of winning this. We've seen it happen again, like we saw against Crystal Palace. And then the second half, we made a couple of changes, or one change in particular, bringing Cavani on. And he sort of dragged us to a win. But we were brilliant in that second half. Some of the attacks, some of the chances, some of the finishing and the final third play was really good. But again, you just never feel settled. It's always that uneasy sort of seasick feeling when you're watching United this season. And I just want a bit of consistency, really.
How are you feeling, Alex?
Same, really. It seems like every single result seems to be or every single game needs to be a must-win game at the minute. And that's, it kind of has to be with Manchester United. You expect to win every game as a Man United fan, but at the same time, it feels like if we don't win this, the world's going to end kind of thing. That's what it feels with every single game. I think how Joe said there that there's that uneasy feeling. I think that's come from, even though we've gone on this run of 9 away victories, a lot of them have been coming from behind. So every time we've won a game, we've gone a goal down. So everyone's like, for fuck's sake, every week. So we're doing that a lot. And then we've had games like the West Brom game, the Brighton game where we've won, and we haven't actually been that good. And you kind of go, well, that wasn't great. And then, like you said, there's a couple of performances in the Champions League we've had. The Istanbul game where at home we absolutely battered them. The Leipzig game where we were unbelievable. And then the Paris game away where there was fantastic football in all of those games. And you kind of think, we are quite good when everything goes right. But it always seems like there's something not quite firing. There's always a player that might not be on form. And we're relying on these 3 or 4 players. And if one of them isn't quite firing, there's a lot of pressure on the players. And I don't know. I think the fact that we've been conceding a few more goals this year has made it different. We're not solid like at the start of last season. It felt like there was a bit of stability there. And we're not going to concede goals. We may not score that many, but now, yes, we are scoring the goals. But the fact that we always feel like we're always going to concede 1 or 2 goals every single game now. I don't see us scraping too many 1-0 games against good teams. And like Southampton last week showed, they only need a little bit of quality to get 2 goals against us. They weren't that good, but one good corner put in and we've conceded a goal. And that's my worry going into this weekend, is that West Ham aren't fantastic at football, but they've got bits of quality here and there. They've got some players that can trouble us, and it only takes one good set piece against the run of play we go 1-0 down, and then the world's ending again. That's the feeling around every game, I feel, at the minute for Man United.
That's the problem. The thing that they're 1-0 down and the world's ending again. The other problem is that every single match and every single performance is undercut and laid on top of this sort of foundation that if we lose, Ole out. If we lose or we don't play well, even against West Brom, we won the game. Because we didn't play very well, Ole out's trending. Every single time it's defending. The whole structure of the club has to defend itself after every loss. And there's no like giving people time. There's no, benefit of the doubt anymore. It's literally, if you win, well, you should be beating them because we're better than them. And if you lose, it's time to get sacked. It's the whole like Princess and the Pea thing. Like, no matter how many mattresses of wins Ole stacks up, there are certain fans that will always feel uncomfortable, feel that pee, that fucking Ole out thing at the bottom of the mattresses, no matter what. You don't know the old story of the Princess and the Pig?
I've never heard that described.
It's an old children's story. It's a fable.
Can you tell us this fable?
Yeah, come on. Story time.
I don't quite remember the ending, but basically, there's a princess who she's so sensitive that she can feel a pee under her mattress. So they get her another mattress. She can still feel the pee. She can another. She's got like 50 mattresses. She can still feel that pee underneath the bottom mattress. And that's what it's like. No matter how many wins, you can look at the stats of in the last 35
Couldn't she
games.
just not get rid of the pee?
Well, exactly, but it's a metaphor. No matter how many wins, no matter how many good performances we put in with under Ole, there are certain sections of the fan base and the media that no matter what happens, there's always that Ole out uncomfortable feeling.
Ole the pee?
Ole is the pee.
Right, and what are the
In
mattresses?
this instance, the mattresses are wins
Right.
that Ole is accumulating.
And what
good
what are
performances.
losses?
What?
When we lose, what does that mean? Is that we lose a mattress?
Yeah,
Shit sleep.
shit sleep.
Shit sleep, right.
Shit
Losses are when you feel the pee.
Right, okay.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, people feel the pee after every result is what I'm trying to say. So that when we lose, it all comes flooding back again. And when we win, it just gets plastered over for a second. And that's another thing that makes you feel uncomfortable. Someone asked Steve in his post-game review the other day, has it always been the case, under all the managers at United, every time we lose, people are asking for them to be sacked? And I don't think it has always been the case. Certainly, it was the case sometimes under Fergie, but generally speaking, he got more time and people were happy because he won all the time, so you didn't even get a chance to really criticise him. But in those couple of barren seasons, 2003 or 4 and 5, whenever it was, when Chelsea came in and looked really strong, there were a lot of people calling for Fergie to leave then. So it is a consistent thing.
I remember arguing with someone after Blackburn beat us 2-1 at Old Trafford, and I was sat alongside the pitch, and Fergie walked past us. And 2 fellas behind me started giving him a stick.
Yeah.
And I turned around like, who the fuck you talking to, bro? Like, what the fuck's all this about?
Exactly.
Like,
but it's
Do you know who that is?
It's always
Do you know
been the
who that
case.
is?
But people were quick to say, Fergie's a dinosaur, Jose's got the new tactics of how to win the Premier League. But what I'm saying is it adds to that level of uncertainty that no matter what happens, if we don't win, there's huge pressure on him every single time, and he gets asked about it, and he gets, it's just there's no consistency at the club.
I think football is like that in general these days, and I think, like, if you look, for example, last season we did magnificently well to get third. From January onwards, look, you could say third for United, par for the course. Okay, cool. But I thought with the squad that we had first half of the season, to then get third, we did really well, and then when we started the season and we had a few bad results, now everybody knows I've had my doubts about Ole, so I'm not as much as Steve is like just certain that get behind. Like, I do try and look at the things that he's not getting right as well. And I thought the reaction to a few bad results at the start of the season was really weird because it's almost like people forgot there was no pre-season. The transfer window was a bit shit. Like, all these kind of common sense got chucked out of the window a little bit. And I thought that was a little bit mental. But then there are some things that I see in certain games where Ole does deserve criticism. Whether it's criticism to the extent of people never say Ole had a bad game or he got it wrong that game. They'll say Ole out. Yeah. When he gets things right, they won't say anything. It's Bruno or it's something like that. And I feel memories are very short in football. Now, that's not to say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has convinced me he is the man to take us forward for the next couple of seasons. But I do think it's unfair that tide changed like that so quickly from last season. Now, for example, this season, I think he deserved criticism for the likes of the performance against Arsenal and things like that. And he's got certain things wrong. That happens. I think generally, I can understand the underlying reasons for some parts of the performance, and I can see that we do play good football a lot of the time, which is also something that I'm pleased with. Like that second half against Southampton, we're capable of that. We do that a lot. Against PSG, we dominated that game.
Way better
home and away.
And we looked unbelievable as well. It wasn't like it was
situations, but then Ollie had a hand in those situations. Do you know what I mean? Like with Fred or substitutions.
The Fred thing though, with Fred, is there not part of you that thinks, remember McTominay got booked early on in the first leg? It's not a two-legged tie, but the away game against PSG. McTominay got booked early on and was up against Neymar and Mbappe the whole game. He didn't get substituted, or if he did, it was at the end.
Twanzebe might have in the last game.
Yeah,
and thought that wrong.
And everyone was going, McTominay's going to step in, and he didn't. And he held himself, and he. It's not like Fred's the first man to ever get booked.
I don't know.
It wasn't. It was gone out.
There was a different feeling about that. Yeah. I understood the McTominay one was a booking because he made a culmination of tackles, and the ref's gone, right, you've got a few more there. The Fred one for me was that he got away with a red card. He should have been sent off. And also, we know what Fred's like. He makes rash.
He lost his head.
He did, and he made rash tackles.
It's not like Fred gets sent off all the time.
No, he doesn't. But he gets a lot of bookings. If you look at his time at Shakhtar, I think the season before he came in, he had 12 bookings for Shakhtar. It's not something new that Fred gets booked a lot. Against Southampton, he made that bad tackle.
And it's also the opposition.
Yeah, and it's also the opposition. He makes those kind of tackles, and you go, you don't need to make that tackle. He makes the book, and that's what makes him good a lot of the time.
I agree.
By the way, I didn't want to focus on that point.
No,
I was just
alluding
to the fact that.
Just to say before we move on, I agree that Ole should have taken him off.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, managers often will think that a player who's on a yellow card, I reckon he can.
Well, Fergie should have took
Rafa
off against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, exactly.
And he knew that, and they discussed it during halftime. He forgot. He forgot. Like Wayne Rooney's injury made him forget to take Rafa off. These mistakes can happen, but I think the thing is, he got to the 65th minute, he was still on the pitch.
I think the other bit about this again is I still don't think we've got the right players that could have come in and done the job. I think that was in Ollie's back of his mind. I
think that's soft excuse, bro, though, because Fred isn't the most. Yes, he's very good at recovering the ball and doing all that. But Donny van der Beek can slot in there quite easily. He had a good game against Southampton.
2-1 down, though.
At
2-1 down, though.
But, bro, we're talking about Fred here, not Roy Keane.
No, but I just think Donny and Pogba come in and do very different jobs to what Fred does.
They do different jobs, but then that's down to your manager then to find an alternative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it not?
It is. And
is it not?
I think I agree, but I think that the lack of another player in that position, and Matic could have come on, but you said, and the same thing that you said at half time was that you've got Matic, McTominay, Maguire, and Lindelof as your four, and that's a slow lack of mobility.
But you're forced into it, aren't you? And I think, look, I didn't want to dwell on that. I was just trying to point onto the fact that there's certain times where he's made the wrong decision, but we always hear about that. We never hear about when he gets it right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit unfair. Well, and I also feel like it's the same. We're moving on to the next topic, so we'll take it there anyway. We're obviously looking at strikers at the minute and who's going to play up top. Marcus Rashford at the moment is injured, but he participated in training the day before the game, so it's looking like
Ole did sort of suggest he'd be all right, didn't he?
Anthony Martial is out of form. Don't think anything else can be said about that. Cavani, he's looked good. Wasn't great against Paris, but he's looked good for United in the short spells he's had. He might not be match fit yet, which I think kind of showed against Paris as the game went on. So those are our options. Greenwood's just coming back. Now, like we were talking about with Solskjaer and people we just finished third and after 2 defeats. I feel the same with Martial now. You guys may have a different opinion to me on this, and we'll discuss it here. I feel like he has been shit this season, first off. Been pretty shit. Mm-hmm. His missed chances that he usually takes with his eyes closed. But I also feel there's been a little bit of an overreaction. Like I was speaking with my mate Scott from Republic of Mount Cuna on Twitter the other day, and he was like, I'm worried. And I'm like, it's like it's December and he's not scored in the league. And it's like, well, actually, the season started mid-September, the 19th. Yeah. He missed 4.5 of the 9 games we've had. So it's
some
not...
of that was his fault, though, and potentially
yes,
criticisable.
but he still missed it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not...
But it was his...
it was his fault.
Yeah.
Much like, we criticised Fred if he would have got sent off against PSG.
Yeah.
It's his fault. But in terms of playing football...
Yeah.
He's missed 50% of the season. So he's not played 10 games, 9 games. And in the Champions League, he scored in 2 and 5. And I actually think his performances at the start of the season weren't bad. They've just got worse as his goal-scoring form has got worse. Now, that happens to strikers, I think. And I think it was only 2-3 months ago. Everyone was looking at his hat-trick against Sheffield United and we're looking at his goals, saying, 24 goals this season, no penalties, and 17 goals in the Premier League. No other striker's done that without taking penalties and all these other things. And it's almost like 2 months later, it's like, oh, well, it's fucking finished. I just find the change so mental.
But that's the reaction of football at the minute, where if you have a couple of games, I think Joe said, if you have 6 bad games or a couple of months or 6 weeks where you don't quite perform, you aren't good enough to play at the top level and you need to be sold. Same with Harry Maguire, failed signing, get rid of him. Well, no, maybe the price tag was too, but he's still a very good centre-half and you keep playing. He's not the worst centre-half, don't get rid of him. Same with Martial. He's had a bit of a drop in form, but I saw something the other day that Martial didn't have a great game in Paris and missed those chances, but the 3 big chances we created were all with him linking it up and him slotting people through. I think he got the assist for Marcus's goal and stuff like that. And
he teed up Cavani
and you kind of go, okay, those things don't happen without Martial on the pitch. And it doesn't just... As a striker, you are judged on how many goals you score and how many assists. As a United 9, you were going to be judged on that. But Martial still adds a lot to United's game. And I think that's people overlooking that and saying he's lazy, so he's shit. No, that's not true. He has that demeanour sometimes where you watch him and he just looks, when he's not playing well, he just looks like that. But it doesn't mean that he's not...
You can tell when he's frustrated.
You can tell he's frustrated, but it doesn't mean he's a bad footballer, he's not contributing. I think he contributed a lot in the Paris game. He didn't take his chances, which meant it was a horrific game for him. But I don't think Martial's been that bad.
So let me ask you, how do we... Well, I'll bring it to you as well next. Do you think he'd be served best to be taken out of the firing line? I know we're in a position where we kind of can't do that at the moment with Rashford, Cavani, but do you take him out of the firing line or do you just play him for it?
I don't think you can take him out because of the situation we're in, where we've not got the players to afford to take him out. You take him out and all of a sudden, if you take him out this weekend and you've got question marks over Rashford, you've now got a front 3 that looks like Dan James, Mata and Cavani. That's not good enough in the Premier League. That's not good enough for Manchester United. You have to have Martial in there. I think a poor Martial adds more to that team than Dan James against a team that's going to sit back completely.
Yeah, I agree that you can't take him out, and if you do, I think that does more damage to him than playing him while he's not at his best. The thing with Martial is, and something, regardless of how good he's been or how many goals he's got for United, I think something we saw with Cavani playing the other day is that striker's instinct and the movement and the positioning and the aerial ability and the finishing ability. And again, it's the instincts. It's that sort of almost animalistic, not thinking about it, he just does it type striker. And Martial isn't that. And I do think we need someone like that at the club as well as Martial. And, Cavani's good, but he's 33 and he's not played much football in the last 7 months, so he's slowly coming back. And the fact that he had to come off against PSG, which... people were having to go Ollie for that. He'd not started for United, and then he started the game, played the second half against Istanbul, played the second half against Southampton, started the game against PSG. He must have been knackered by the second half of that game, so I think that's why he came off. But what Cavani coming in has done, I think, is alerted or sort of reintroduced this idea of United do need someone at the club who is an instinctive number 9 poaching, who's at the front post, who's diving for headers, as well as Martial. I think Martial's a good player. I think he offers a lot. I think it's his versatility. I know he wants to play up front, or it seems as though he wants to play as a number 9, but I think the fact that he can play on the left and he's very good there helps him. But if we had a 27-year-old Cavani at the club, he would be starting up front over Martial. And I think instead of the whole thing of his current form, I brushed that to one side, like I said in the review the other day. He'll be back to where he was last season. But I think even the striker he was last season, which is a very good player, I still think someone who is like Cavani or who is like, I know Haaland keeps getting mentioned, but that sort of player where you put the ball to the near post and he's throwing something at it. I think we do need someone like that at Man United, as well as a Martial-style player.
In terms of holding the ball up, I do think Martial edges Cavani in terms of back to goal. Cavani goes missing because he's looking for the ball a lot, in terms of looking for goals a lot. In terms of when he's coming to link the play up, maybe he might not be there. And I do actually think sometimes, you said, Cavani through the middle, Martial on the left could happen. But I also think Rashford and Martial going back to their usual positions and Cavani on the right can work, because Cavani was working from that right-hand position when he got those goals against Southampton. Yep. He was occupying that space a lot. Now, I also agree that we need different options up front. The same, in some games, we wouldn't always use Cole and York. Do you know what I mean? And when Cole was having a bad time, someone else would be having a good time. And I think the magnifying glass is it's on you now. Because you play a one-striker system, you don't play a two-striker system anymore. It's almost like you have to score. If you don't, it's fucked. Plus, we know social media has a short-term memory. But I'm not overly concerned. I think he will be back. I would have minded him to be pulled out of the team and just taken out a little bit, brought on as a sub, get a goal, get your confidence back. But we're not in a position we can do that. And I kind of think he just needs to say, the good thing is getting into the areas to take, but you can't finish him. And that's the bizarre thing. I've never seen his finishing that poor.
And that's that was my little bit of a worry against PSG, is that he did that easy chance that he missed is something that Martial doesn't do. You never see him blaze one over the bar.
You normally just dink it or something as well.
He normally dinks it, or he normally tries to side foot it and puts it a bit too close to the keeper. He always tries that. He always looks in control of it and maybe doesn't put his foot through it. That was a snatch he finished.
Both of them were. The one over the bar and then the one straight at the defender.
I need a goal and I'm going to break the back of the net here, finish, which is not Martial. And that was my worries. You can see that he's getting frustrated with it.
It's the difference when, I suppose, and he's learning this now. Yeah. It's the difference when a Lukaku or a Zlatan's there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're learning now that, bruv, you have to score. Yeah. You are our number 9.
You're the goals in this team.
You are not the goals, because as Man United we should have.
Yeah.
But you are heavily relied on for goals. And if we're not winning and you're not scoring, it's going to stand out more. Now, if we were winning, if we win against PSG, I think everyone just says, Martial's having a bad time, isn't he? Yeah. But he'll be all right. But that's when the pressure comes. And I think these players have just got to learn how to deal with it, really. Yeah. And that'll be a big part of their maturing as well. How do you deal with this pressure now? Rashford gets it a lot. When he has 5 bad games, it's Trashford and Rashbeck and this, that, and it's these players at the moment, because they don't have, what you said with Oli and that, Fergie had won things. Those teams had won things. So when you start doubting them, you think, well, actually, they've done it before. Do you know what I mean? And it's you haven't got. Well, that
was it. When you had Rooney and Ronaldo coming through, which everyone kind of compares. A lot of last season was look at Rashford's number ahead of Ronaldo and Rooney, how they came in at 19, 20, and how they kicked on, and they were trying to compare the two and things like that. What people forget is that when Ronaldo first came in the team, Van Nistelrooy was there. So even when it wasn't at the best time, Zaha was there. They were scoring. They had people that were going to score goals for you. Oli was still scoring goals. Oli was there till 2007, still scoring goals, and there wasn't that pressure that if Ronaldo doesn't score 30 goals this season, he's not good enough here. There was the time to let these players build up. Whereas United, because they've gone through these last 6 or 7 years, they haven't got that time, and there's going to be more pressure on. And I think always the rumours about Haaland. I think from the January rumours about getting
him about Haaland. You see the sitter he missed.
It would be good to get him though.
It would be
worse than Marshall's.
Let's be honest.
It was a sitter. I think that will always be at the back of people's minds. And I think Oli dropped it in his press conference today is we can play a different way with a striker like Cavani. And I think that whether that might not be I want to play this way, but I think Oli wants that option to play
you an option.
with
we
a
need
9.
To have options.
You have to play with 2.
We can't just rely on one striker, no matter who it is.
Nah, you can't rely on one player in any position.
No.
You can't. You just can't do it. Moving on to predicted 11s now. I'll give you mine first.
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, is that all right? I genuinely wouldn't have normally done that, but it's on the screen already. My 11 for this one, David De Gea in goal. I've gone with a diamond. The reason I've gone with the diamond is strictly because I want Rashford to be given a rest. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Alex Telles. I want to see more from Telles. You know, I know he's settling in still, so I'm not panicking.
Yep.
But I want to see more from him. Matic, Pogba, Van der Beek. I'm thinking if Freds can't play against RB Leipzig, let's try and work around that now. I suppose there's sense in playing him and just burning him out, and then, you know, you don't play midweek. But I'd go Matic, Pogba, Van der Beek, get those guys ready for selection against Leipzig. Bruno, Cavani, and Martial.
It'd be good to give Bruno a rest at some point in his life, wouldn't it?
Nah.
Are we asking for trouble with that? Just playing him every single game?
Possibly, but you see in Bruno's instance, it doesn't. You see with Rashford, he keeps getting niggling injuries.
Bruno
hasn't really had that at this moment.
Yeah.
I'd just play him through it. Play Bruno through it. He's playing good enough, so I'd keep Bruno in the team.
What's your team, Al?
Is my 11. Same back five: De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Telles. I don't think there's too many question marks over that at the minute. I think that is his favourite back five.
He's got Twanzebe in his team.
I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
I don't see it personally.
I don't think he's played enough minutes. I don't think he's done enough to prove himself. And I don't think
saying Steve's talking shite?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on. So we've got, and then I've gone for Fred Van der Beek as a 2. I like that against Southampton. West Ham are going to sit back. I think you can do that. You can afford to do that. I've started with Martial out on the left, Bruno in the 10, and I've gone for Juan Mata on the right hand side. I think that he's not played too many games, and I think that again, West Ham are going to absorb a lot of pressure. It's a game for Juan Mata to get in between those lines and do well. And then Cavani, again, I don't think we've got too many other options at the minute, and I think Cavani will get his start again this weekend.
Carlo
came on for a few minutes, didn't he? Made all the difference against PSG. I've gone for the same back five: De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Telles. I'd be surprised to see any straying from that line. And then I've gone Matic and McTominay, Van der Beek, and Bruno as a diamond.
Okay.
So I'm thinking similar to you. I think Fred will get a rest or a punishment or a break or whatever you want to call it. He plays every week, doesn't he? Very much like Bruno, he seems to play every single game, and I think take him off, give him a rest. McTominay seems to be back to full fitness. He started the other day, and Matic hasn't started for a while. So I think as well with the 4 in midfield, when you've got Bruno and you've got Van der Beek there, the sort of energy and the dynamism of Van der Beek makes up for some of that. I won't call them stalagmites, but they're both quite static, aren't they? Matic and Bruno. They're not quite as energetic and sort of agile as the rest of them. So I think they make up for that. And then I've gone Rashford and Martial up front. I think Cavani's got to be knackered. He started, or he's played at least 40.
Rashford's got one arm.
I know Rashford's got one arm, but Rashford's used to playing week in, week out. I know. I'm not saying it's an easy decision or that Rashford should be playing. I just think that he always plays Rashford. Whenever he's fit, he plays him. When's the last time you said, I'm going to give Rashford 2 games off because he's not fit?
I'm not doing the diamond.
Well, I just don't think Cavani will start again because he hasn't started or played 3 games in a row like he has done in the last 10 days or 8 days in 10 months.
For me,
so I just think I'd be surprised to see Cavani start. So yeah, I've gone Rashford and Martial as a sort of split striker up front.
For me, I think the substitutions that Oli made against PSG hinted towards this game because I think that he took off Martial and Cavani when we were all going, you can't do that, we need to win the game. But I think in the back of Oli's mind at 2-1, he went, we're still only a point away in the Champions League. Let's get these 2 off because these need to play at the weekend. That's why I think Cavani and Martial will both play still.
I could see that.
I think that he came off, give him 20 minutes off in the week because I think they'll both start this weekend.
Yeah. Couple diamonds we've gone for there as well, isn't it?
Couple diamond geezers. Talking about geezers, taking on the Cockney geezers.
Of all the fans,
the bubble blowing Cockneys.
West Ham fans seem to have a sort of, I've said this before, but a strange kind of style of play thing where they're like, they've got rid of so many managers.
Newcastle fans expect to win trophies.
Yeah. Like, what style of play have West Ham got where they sack managers and they've got all this, like the fact their stadium's too big for them. They've got one of the biggest stadiums in the country, and they're a team that's not been any good since the World Cup in 1966.
They weren't good then either.
Like, I don't know what their supposed style of play, what their supposed, we've got certain standards. We're West Ham fans. They get relegated every 4 years. I don't quite get where it comes from, and yet we go there every year. I ridicule them every year, and they beat us every year.
Battered us last
It's horrible.
They battered us last year 3-0.
Fucking horrible.
Battered us
to
the year
make
before.
matters worse for me, It was around the time when I'd been in that Twitter spat with Rio and Declan Rice and everything.
I remember that
West
one.
Ham's Academy. Basically, what I had said was West Ham's Academy has been a dud for a long time. And then Rio quoted it like I was talking about him. And what I was saying, hold on a minute, Rio.
You were talking about Michael Carrick, weren't you?
I've come through the academy how long ago?
Yeah, 20 years.
I swear they were sponsored
years.
by Draper Motors when you came through. I don't get so it clearly wasn't a dig at Rio or anyone like that, but it was taken as that. And my point was look at their team, their last decent players come through the academy of football was Kieran Richardson, Declan Rice, fair enough, pretty good player, but even then overhyped to fuck. And I just find that whole academy of football thing.
Yeah,
it's
weird. It's a mirage.
He didn't win the World Cup in 1966. Nobby Stiles and Sir Bobby Charlton did, bruv.
Yeah, I really don't get it. And the way that they used to talk about David Moyes as well, how this is not the West Ham way. Sorry, what is the West Ham way? Just being in the Championship every 4 years.
Yeah, if you can finish,
There
if you finish in the
isn't a
top,
West
if you
Ham
finish
way.
in the top half, you've
If you
done
finish
really
in the Premier
well.
League, you've done well. That's the West Ham way. Scrape staying in the Premier League and whinge about it. That is the West Ham way. David Moyes is perfect for that because he allows the fans to complain,
actually doing
which
well,
is all
though.
they do anyway.
He's doing well, though.
Yeah, this season he's doing well. I'm talking about last season when
Found his feet.
gotta get rid of him. Remember when they had loads of Champions League winners and all these big names that Arnautovic and all these people who were meant to be. None of them did anything.
Moyes just kind of come in, just gone, look, we need to sit back. We're going to defend. We're going
Stop
to do.
pretending you're something you're not.
Yeah.
We're going to be a shitty, dogged, hard-working team, and I'll get you in the top half.
And
Great.
we'll qualify for the Europa Conference League.
It's Europa Conference. Perfect.
I've been told to speak about Cresswell, but
Yes.
I don't know why.
Because he's a good deliverer
Well,
of set
it's
pieces.
one of them. I
You
mentioned
work for
it.
Deliveroo?
Yeah, he works for Deliveroo,
Yeah.
and it's something that we're shit at.
I mentioned it.
Yeah.
He's again, we had Ward-Prowse this weekend, puts in a decent cross, takes a free kick, we're 2-0 down.
Yeah.
Cresswell's done that the last few times against West Ham, where a couple of decent crosses in, he scored I think he scored 2 free kicks against us. I see that happening again, so I think we need to switch on. I mean, it's switch on at corners, but we need to be better at corners. We need to look.
Souček's good, isn't he?
Yeah, they have dangers at corners. We have to get better. You mentioned about Harry Maguire. He seems to win every header, but doesn't at the same time. It's an odd thing where you see these stats that Harry Maguire's won all of his headers, but we can't defend corners and we never score from set pieces. He needs to get better at that. He needs to be that one that I always mention. Drogba for Chelsea used to stand at the front post and win every header for them, and just clear the ball.
You can't tell Maguire to win every header, no matter where the ball goes. If we're playing zonal marking or man marking, whatever we're doing, you can't just go mine every time the ball comes in the box. Look at the stats of how many headers he wins. The percentage was 80%. I think that includes
what he was
opposition headers.
Is that that Harry Maguire stat doesn't reflect on United's defence?
Doesn't reflect on United's defence.
If he's not falling to Harry Maguire,
yes,
we're probably
I
not
agree
doing
with that.
I do actually think Cavani and Martial are quite good on the front post when either of them play there in terms of getting out and trying to
Lukaku used to
clear
do
it.
that as well, didn't he?
No, and score own goals.
Occasionally. You're going to get that. Like Martial did against PSG.
Oh, God.
That was
horrible.
time.
Yeah,
Very
you know,
fun.
he had the worst time against Paris Saint-Germain.
Lukaku. Martial, yeah.
His hometown.
Oh.
All his friends are PSG
Scored no
fans.
goal away.
Scores for them.
Missed 2
and then
absolute sitters.
Scores for them when he doesn't score for us, basically.
Not great.
Oh dear.
Come on, Tony. We love you, but you're stressing us out here. Moving on from Davy Moyes. Come on, Davy Moyes. Play like Fergie's boys. We'll go wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. What's your score prediction?
So you think
Head.
oh, sorry.
Says a 1-1 draw.
But your arse
Says 2-1 win.
says
2-1 win
2-1
United.
win. It says it's a stinky little prediction, but it is 2-1
Like
win.
Rudy Giuliani over there.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
I think it's going to be. If anyone hasn't seen that clip of Rudy Giuliani, he tries to talk over one of his own farts.
In court.
Not on a podcast. Not on a podcast.
Not on here.
Brown-handed.
With his hair dripping down his face.
I think it's going to be horrible. It's always horrible there. We haven't won there in 2 years, but I think the fact that
That's good.
Yeah, I think the fact that we have lost the last 2 games then means that we probably will win. It's going to be a scrappy one, a scruffy one. I'm going to go 2-1 as well. Again, coming from behind.
9 in a row.
We'll come from behind and we'll win 2-1. Make it 5 in a row coming from behind. 1-0 down, we win 2-1.
Got to put that
Come
on.
on. I'm going for a 2-1 win United.
So
I
2-1
think we're
win.
going to win. Martial's going to score and Cavani.
Oh, I hope so. An own goal or a normal goal? Never know these days.
On that note, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. Keep it locked to Stretford Paddock. Get your comments in below with your score predictions and all that. Don't forget about the 12 days of Christmas or Paddock. What they call it?
12 days of Paddock.
Don't forget
Become a
about
member to win a PlayStation 5, basically.
that. And a pair of his pants.
If you want them.
See you later.